Now let's solve the question. The question is an economy is faced by an exhaustion of an important natural resource at time when it is introducing improved technology. So two events are occurring there. One is exhaustion of an important natural resource. Okay, so the resource has decreased. And then introducing an improved technology. So these two incidents give the opposite effect, right? So what is the question here? Explain how these events will affect the economy's production. Okay, with the production possibility coming. So that is how we have to solve the question. So we know that the usually production possibility curve, right? It will look like this, and it will show you the maximum amount of good X and good Y, and those combinations of good X and good Y with the same resources, right? So let's see how these events are going to be affecting the production. Okay. So these two events have opposite effects on the economy, right? So because one is reducing the available resources, another one is improving technology. So first thing is exhaustion of an important natural resource. How will it affect them? So basically, natural resources are factors of production. So what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, etc. Right. So whenever one of these factors are not available, or if its availability decreases, what will happen to the PPC curve? It will shift inside, right? So when the key resources is depleted, the economy's productive capacity falls. So for example, for a production, requires like a 10 unit of labors, 20 units of capital, okay, and let's say like 20 units of like land, something like that. Even if any of that will falls like to if the labor become five or something like that, what will happen? Definitely the production will fall. So no matter whether the entire thing falls or not, even if one resources is reduced, the entire production will be slowed down, right? So this causes the PPC shift inward, that is to the left. So as you can see here, this is our initial PPC curve. Okay, and then due to the less availability of a particular resource, what is happening here? The initial curve, initial, this was our initial curve. Okay, so the curve has shifted inward. See, the curve has shifted inward, which means now with the available resources, we can only produce less amount of products and less amount of good one. Okay, so fewer goods and services can be produced at all combinations. So this is the impact of exhaustion of an important natural resources. Clear. Now we have the second case, introduction of improved technology. So what will happen when the technology is improved? So technology increases the efficiency of production, right? It will increase the efficiency of production. As a result, what happens? The same input can be produced more output. So the same input can be used to produce more output, right? So this will cause the PPC to shift outward, that is to the right. So this was the initial PPC curve, right? So due to the improved technology with the same resources, now they can produce what? More. So more amount of good X and good Y can be produced. So the curve will shift outward, that is to the left. So the economy can produce more of both. Okay. So here the both is occurring at once, right? So how can we determine the shift? Like in one hand, it is the key ingredient or the key factors of production has like reduced or depleted. In other hand, the technology has improved, which could make with the same amount of good resources available, it could make more product. So how can you like explain the shift? So we should consider the combined effect, right? So what is the combined effect? The net effect depends on which impact is stronger. So what do you mean that? Here one is a negative effect, another one is a positive effect. So usually we add negative and positive values, right? For example, if it is -4 plus 10, what will be the result? It will be 6, right? Just like that. So in this case, it is a positive result. And what if it is like -10 plus 4? What will be the result? It will be negative, right? So just like that, we have to consider the combined effect. Okay. So if resource exhaustion is greater, or the overall curve will shift to inward, right? So if the exhaustion is greater, if the negative impact is greater, it will shift inward. And if technological improvement is greater, overall outward shift will be there. So if the exhaustion of resources is greater than technological improvement, the curve will shift inward. And if the technological improvement is greater than the exhaustion of resources, it will shift outward. Okay. And at the same time, if both are equal, what will happen? The PPC will remain unchanged, right? But the production methods differ. So this is how you can easily explain with the combined. So the possible shape change will be if technology improves only certain industries, the PPC curve may pivot rather than the shifter. Okay. And resources loss may also affect specific sectors more than others. So it will be basically based on the industry type, right? In some industries, there will be more importance for resources. In some industries, the technology will be more important. So it will depending on. Okay. And in the economy experiences conflicting pressure, the resources depletion reduces capacity, right? And while technology progress expands it. So the final position of the PPC curve depends on the relative strength of these two changes. That is what we have already explained. So it will be the shift in the curve will be purely based on the relative strength of these two changes. So you will have to check which change is more severe here, right? Which has more strength. So that is how we will determine the shift of this curve. So since there is no value has mentioned here, we can just theoretically prove. Okay, so this is how you can easily answer such questions. So even though the question haven't asked you about the graph, but to show the shift and all, it's better to use these graphs so that will ensure few more better marks. Okay, so